The stars were quiet, the vast galaxy stretched in endless silence, and the Empire's warships moved like shadows across the black void. The commanders of the Empire sat in their golden chairs, proud and arrogant, believing no enemy could ever challenge them. For centuries, the Empire ruled with iron fists, crushing weaker worlds and mocking the small blue planet called Earth. To them, Earth was nothing but a forgotten world, a backwater with no strength and no future. Yet in the cold silence of the nebula, the impossible was about to happen. Admiral Kareth of the Empire leaned forward in his command chair, his long claws tapping against the metal. Reports flashed across the screens, whispers of a strange energy surge in the sector. The crew worked quickly, but their faces were pale, their voices shaking. Something massive was forming in the void, something no sensor could fully understand. It was as if the universe itself bent around it, hiding its true form until the last moment. "Show me," Kareth ordered, his voice low and sharp. The holographic screen lit up, and then every soul on the bridge froze. Out of nothing, from the shadows of space, a warship appeared. It was not like any vessel they had seen before, not imperial, not alien, not anything known. The shape was sleek, dark, and filled with power, a predator designed to strike fear, and on its shining hull, one symbol burned bright, the mark of Earth. Gasps filled the bridge. Soldiers who had mocked humans for years now trembled. "How?" whispered one officer, his voice breaking. "How can humans build this?" The Empire had believed Earth had no fleets, no weapons, no strength. Yet here was a ship that dwarfed even the Empire's flagships, glowing with energy and silent wrath. It had materialized from nowhere, cloaked until the very last second, and now it floated before them like a phantom from ancient myths. The ship did not speak. It did not broadcast warnings or threats. It only stood there as if daring the Empire to act first. Kareth's claws dug into his chair, his pride and fear clashing in his chest. "This is a trick," he spat, though his voice shook. "A human toy will not frighten us." Yet deep inside, he knew this was no toy. This was a message. Across the galaxy, watchers tuned into the Empire's channels. Merchants, soldiers, and rulers leaned forward, their eyes wide as they saw the footage. The galaxy laughed at humans for centuries, and now their laughter turned to silence. One warship alone, yet more terrifying than entire fleets. Rumors spread in seconds. Earth had built something in secret, something powerful enough to shake the balance of the stars. On Earth itself, far away under the blue skies, men and women watched in hidden command centers. They had waited for this moment, their voices calm as they whispered to each other. "It worked," one said. "The cloak held until the very end." Another nodded. "Now the Empire knows we are not weak anymore." For decades, humans built in silence, hiding their strength under the oceans, inside asteroids, and deep in mountains. While the galaxy mocked, humanity prepared. And now their first secret was revealed. Back in the nebula, the Earth warship moved at last. Engines roared, lights blazed, and the massive vessel glided forward with deadly grace. Its weapons hummed with power, strange and unfamiliar. Empire scanners failed to read them, their systems confused by the human design. Panic spread across the enemy fleet. Captains shouting, soldiers praying. Never before had they seen technology that bent the rules of their universe. The Earth ship stopped just outside the main Imperial formation. It faced them without fear, silent and steady. Then a deep voice filled the comms, a human voice, calm and cold. "This is Earth," the words echoed like thunder. "We are here." The Empire trembled, for in those words lay no plea, no request, no weakness, only power, only truth. Kareth's lips pulled back in a snarl, yet his hands shook. He had faced countless enemies before, but never had he felt this weight in his chest. The humans should have been weak, yet they had appeared from nowhere with a ship of nightmares, and every star in the galaxy was now watching. The silence stretched, fear growing heavier by the second. No one dared fire the first shot, no one dared speak, but in every heart, the same thought bloomed like fire. If one warship of Earth could do this, how many more waited in the dark? The Empire's fleets held their breath, engines humming in the cold silence of the nebula. Before them, the Earth warship hovered, calm and fearless, its dark hull glowing with lines of strange energy. Every Imperial commander watching across the galaxy whispered the same question. How did Earth do this? For centuries, Earth was mocked as weak, ignored in councils, treated as a planet with no voice. Yet here was proof that humanity had not been sleeping, humanity had been planning. Admiral Kareth slammed his fist against his command chair, his claws cutting deep marks in the metal. He barked orders, demanding scans, demanding answers, but every report came back the same. Unknown technology, unknown power source, systems unstable when trying to analyze. It was as if the human warship was invisible to logic, a machine built from secrets no one else remembered. The Empire was a superpower, but for the first time in centuries, it felt blind. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread faster than light. Merchants spoke in hushed voices at starports, smugglers carried tales of Earth's shadow projects. Even governors of imperial colonies locked their doors in fear, wondering if humans had secretly armed themselves with fleets of ghosts. The galaxy had laughed at humans yesterday, but today the galaxy trembled, in the heart of Earth, far beneath mountain. And oceans, hidden chambers glowed with activity. Generals and scientists watched the broadcast of the warship's appearance, their faces calm but their eyes fierce. For decades, Earth had hidden its strength, building far from the eyes of the Empire. Asteroids had been hollowed into shipyards, deep seas hid reactors, and moons carried secret weapons, all of it unseen, all of it waiting. Humanity had been underestimated, and that was the greatest shield of all. On the bridge of the Earth warship, Captain Elias stood tall. His crew moved like shadows, silent and precise, their hands steady on controls. He knew the entire galaxy was watching him now. "This is only the beginning," he whispered to his second officer, his voice calm. "If they think we have only one ship, let them believe it. Their fear will do the rest." The Empire, desperate to restore its pride, finally gave an order. A small squadron of cruisers advanced, their weapons armed, their hulls shining with imperial power. They expected the humans to retreat, to panic, to surrender, but the Earth warship did not move. It only turned slightly, like a predator watching prey. The silence was unbearable. Every eye across the galaxy fixed on the scene. Would the humans dare to fight back? The cruisers fired warning shots, streaks of light tearing across the void. Explosions rippled against the shields of the human vessel, but the warship did not flinch. Instead, its weapons came alive, lines of blue light glowing like fire in the dark. One shot fired, only one, and an Imperial cruiser was torn apart. A ship that should have taken hours of bombardment to destroy vanished in seconds. The galaxy gasped, fear freezing every soul. Kareth roared in fury, but his voice shook with fear. "This cannot be, this is impossible," he growled. But deep inside, he knew the truth. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for longer than anyone guessed. Every empire builds with arrogance, but Earth had built with desperation. Desperation to survive, to never be slaves, to never bow. And desperation can create wonders. The comms lit up again, the human captain's voice echoing across the Empire's channels. "Earth does not seek war," Elias said, his tone steady. "But Earth will not kneel." The words carried power, simple and sharp. Billions heard them, billions felt them. For the first time, people across the Empire wondered if the age of the Empire was ending, if a small world like Earth could defy them. Who else would rise? The Imperial fleet regrouped, captains arguing, soldiers trembling. Some wanted to rush forward, to crush the humans quickly. Others begged for retreat, afraid of what the humans still hid. And across the galaxy, more whispers spread. What if Earth had more than one warship? What if entire fleets were waiting in the dark? On the bridge of the Earth warship, Elias closed his eyes for a moment. He could feel the weight of history pressing down. This was not just a battle. This was a message. Every human across Earth and its colonies was watching. They would remember this moment forever. The day humanity stood tall before the Empire, and the galaxy would remember too. The stars were silent again, but the silence was no longer calm. It was heavy. It was tense. It was filled with fear. The Empire trembled, for they had seen the future. And in that future, humanity was no longer a footnote. Humanity was a storm, rising from nowhere, ready to change everything. The Empire had never been humiliated like this. One lone human warship had appeared from nowhere, destroyed an Imperial cruiser with a single shot, and then stood in silence as if daring the galaxy to test its strength. The pride of the Empire, built over centuries of conquest, shook like glass in a storm. Admiral Kareth's face twisted with rage, his claws clicking against the arm of his command chair. He had thought humans weak, fragile, nothing but a joke in galactic polity. But now every world, every governor, every rival power was watching. If he let the humans leave without punishment, the Empire would look broken. If he attacked and failed, the Empire would be finished. Either choice carried death. On the bridge of the Earth warship, Captain Elias remained calm. His crew moved like a single machine, watching sensors, adjusting shields, weapons humming with quiet fire. Elias knew what was coming. The Empire would not back down. Pride would not allow it. He whispered to his second officer, "Let them come. Let the galaxy see the truth with their own eyes." Across the void, the Imperial fleet shifted into formation. Dozens of heavy cruisers and battleships moved forward, their weapons glowing with deadly light. The sky itself seemed to burn as the Empire prepared to strike. Kareth's voice roared through the fleet channels. "Destroy them! Let no trace of their arrogance remain!" The galaxy held its breath. Billions of beings tuned into broadcasts, desperate to see the battle unfold. Smugglers stopped their runs, soldiers paused in their barracks, even rulers in golden palaces leaned forward, all waited for the storm. And then the first shot came. The Imperial flagship fired a beam of burning plasma, a weapon strong enough to cut moons apart. The void lit up in white fire as it slammed into the Earth warship. But when the light cleared, the human vessel still stood, shields shimmering with strange energy. Gasps echoed across the galaxy. The humans had survived what should have destroyed them. Then the humans answered. A single broadside of blue-white lances ripped through space. 2 Imperial destroyers exploded instantly, their wreckage scattering across the nebula. A third ship lost engines, spinning into the dark. The Empire's confidence cracked again, but Kareth was no coward. He screamed orders, driving the entire fleet into a attack. Hundreds of weapons fired, filling the void with storms of light. The human warship danced through it, shields holding, weapons striking back with terrifying precision. Each shot from the humans did not just destroy, it erased, leaving nothing but silence where Imperial ships had once been. Still, the Empire pressed on. Their numbers were vast, their pride unbreakable. Ship after ship closed the distance, desperate to overwhelm the lone human vessel. Explosions painted the nebula in fire, a battlefield of chaos and fury. But the Earth warship cut through them like a blade. In hidden command centers across Earth, generals watched the battle unfold, their faces calm, but their eyes sharp. "This is what they needed to see," one whispered. "The Empire must bleed before it learns fear." Another nodded. "One warship is enough to plant doubt in their hearts. Imagine when the others appear." Back on the Imperial flagship, Kareth's rage turned to dread. He watched his proud fleet crumble against a single opponent. He had mocked humans his entire life, and now he realized the truth. This was not luck. This was not accident. This was power, hidden and sharpened in silence, waiting for this very moment. The galaxy itself seemed to whisper. If one ship could defy the Empire, what else could humans do? If they had built one warship, how many more were waiting in the shadows? The balance of power was breaking. The stars themselves seemed to tilt. The Earth warship fired again, a storm of blue fire ripping apart the last line of cruisers. The Imperial fleet broke, captains retreating, soldiers crying out in panic. For the first time in centuries, the Empire ran. On every world, in every system, the same message spread. The Empire is not invincible. Earth has risen. But Elias did not smile. He stood on the bridge of his warship, watching the fleeing fleet with cold eyes. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "The Empire will come again. And when they do, the galaxy will see what humanity has truly built, and somewhere, far beyond the mirrors. Nebula, in hidden shipyards and secret bases, more shadows stirred, more warships waited, silent and unseen. The galaxy had witnessed the first blow, but the storm was only starting. The nebula burned with wreckage, broken pieces of the Empire's proud fleet floated like ashes across the stars. The lone Earth warship stood in the middle of the ruins, its hull glowing, shields flickering but still unbroken. Across the galaxy, silence fell, for never before had one ship brought such destruction. Admiral Kareth's voice cracked through the surviving channels, filled with fury and desperation. "Hold the line," he shouted, though his commanders were already retreating, their voices filled with panic. Ships that had once carried the Empire's banner with pride now fled into the shadows. But even as they ran, reinforcements were rushing in from other sectors. The Empire could not afford to lose. Not here, not now. Captain Elias stood tall on the bridge of the Earth warship, his eyes sharp. He knew this was not victory yet, this was only the first wave. "The Empire will send everything they have," he told his crew, his voice steady. "They cannot allow their weakness to be shown. We must be ready." Sensors lit up again, the void shuddered with new arrivals. Dozens of heavy battleships dropped from warp, their hulls vast, their weapons glowing with deadly power. The Empire had brought its second fleet, stronger, larger, and filled with rage. This was no longer a skirmish. This was war. The crew of the Earth warship held their breath as the Imperial Armada surrounded them, the sky filled with fire as thousands of weapons charged at once. It was a storm unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Plasma beams, rail cannons, and missile swarms tore through the void. The human ship shook, its shields flaring like a sun, its hull glowing under the assault. But it did not fall. "Return fire," Elias ordered, his voice calm in the storm. The warship answered with thunder, its weapons burning holes through the enemy lines. An Imperial dreadnought exploded, then another, flames lighting the nebula like a second sunrise. Still the humans were outnumbered. Still the Empire pressed harder. Every second felt like a heartbeat between survival and destruction. On distant worlds, the galaxy watched in awe. Common citizens whispered prayers for the humans, while others prayed for the Empire's strength to return. Rival nations smiled in secret, for the Empire's wounds meant freedom for them, and on Earth itself, billions watched their first warship fight against impossible odds. Every heart beat as one. Every soul whispered the same thought, "Don't fall." But then, something strange happened. The human ship's energy spiked, systems glowing with a force no one could explain. Imperial scanners failed, their data collapsing under impossible readings. It was as if the ship had tapped into something ancient, something forbidden. And then it struck. A single pulse of energy blasted out, sweeping across the battlefield. Imperial ships twisted, their shields tearing apart, their systems shutting down. Some ships drifted powerless, others exploded in brilliant fire. The galaxy gasped, for they had never seen such a weapon. Even Kareth's flagship staggered, alarms screaming as his crew fought to keep control. "This is no ordinary technology," whispered one Imperial officer, his face pale. "They found something the galaxy forgot." But no one dared to say it aloud. Humans had broken the laws of war. They had unlocked power that was not supposed to exist. Captain Elias's crew stared at their own screens in awe. Even they had not expected the weapon to unleash such destruction. Yet Elias only nodded, his face calm but his eyes burning. "This is why we built in silence," he said. "Not to conquer, not to enslave, but to remind the galaxy, we will never be broken. The Empire, bleeding and humiliate," called for retreat. Their proud battleships vanished into warp, dragging broken survivors with them. For the first time in living memory, the Empire had run from a single opponent, and the galaxy knew everything had changed. On every world, whispers grew louder. If one ship could defeat fleets, then what else had Earth built? If one captain could bring the Empire to its knees, then what would happen when more came? Fear spread through the stars, not of the Empire, but of humanity. Yet in the shadows of the warship's bridge, Elias stood silently. He knew this was not the end. The Empire would return stronger, and worse. Others would come. Rivals, predators, opportunists. The warship was not only a weapon, it was a signal. The galaxy had seen it, and now nothing could be hidden. The void was silent again, but this silence was heavy. The kind of silence before storms, before revolutions. The Empire trembled, but the galaxy wondered. Had humanity just become the most dangerous power in the stars? The nebula drifted in silence, broken ships glowing like dying stars. The Empire had fled, humiliated and broken, its proud fleet scattered. But across the galaxy, questions spread faster than light. What had Earth done? How had they built a warship that could shatter empires? In palaces of crystal and steel, alien rulers whispered in fear. In secret chambers, spies sent frantic reports. their hands shaking as they wrote. Every mind sought the same answer. What secret had humanity uncovered? For centuries, humans were ignored, called weak, laughed at in the great halls of the galaxy. Now the same voices trembled, their arrogance broken. On the bridge of the Earth warship, Captain Elias stood in silence. His crew worked with calm precision, though their faces betrayed awe and fear. They had seen their weapons unleash destruction beyond measure. They had watched the mighty Empire fall back, but even they did not know the full truth of their ship. Only Elias and a handful of leaders on Earth understood. Deep beneath the oceans of Earth, in hidden cities carved into stone, the truth was guarded. Decades ago, human explorers had found something in the far reaches of their system, an artifact buried in the ruins of an ancient asteroid. It pulsed with strange energy, older than the Empire itself. Scientists called it the core. It was not human, not of this age. It was a fragment of forgotten technology from a civilization erased by time. The core had changed everything. It powered engines that could bend light. It created shields that no weapon could pierce. It gave birth to weapons that tore through fleets like paper. And humanity, desperate to survive in a hostile galaxy, had built their first warship around it. The Empire thought humans weak, but weakness had forced them to become clever. Weakness had driven them to seize forbidden power. In the command chamber, Elias whispered to his officers, "They think this is our only ship. Let them believe it." The crew exchanged glances, knowing the truth, that Earth had more. Dozens of hidden shipyards filled with vessels powered by the core's secrets, but revealing too much too soon would unite the galaxy against them. So for now, the illusion of one lone ship would remain. Meanwhile, in the throne world of the Empire, the Emperor raged. His golden halls shook with his fury. "How can this be?" he shouted, his voice echoing across the chamber. "Humans were nothing, nothing. How can they wield such weapons?" Advisors bent low, too afraid to answer. But even as they spoke of retaliation, fear filled their eyes. They had seen the recordings. They had seen ships burn in seconds. And deep in their hearts, they wondered if the Empire's time was ending. The galaxy itself felt different. For centuries, everyone lived under the Empire's shadow. But now a new shadow stretched across the stars. The shadow of Earth. Smugglers spoke of HFY Sci-Fi. Human fleets hidden in asteroid belts. Miners told tales of secret human colonies armed with weapons unknown. The truth and lies mixed, creating a legend larger than the reality. And legends are more dangerous than facts. Back on the Earth warship, Elias received a transmission from the hidden command centers of Earth. A calm voice filled the bridge. "You have shown the galaxy our strength," the voice said. "Now hold the line, but reveal no more. Not yet." Elias nodded, his jaw tight. He knew the storm had only begun. The Empire would come again. And when they did, the secret of the core would be the weapon that decided the future. But even as Elias prepared his ship, he could not shake the feeling that something darker lingered. The core was powerful, but it was not fully understood. Some whispered it was cursed, others said it destroyed its makers. What if humanity's greatest weapon was also a danger to themselves? What if the core demanded a price? The stars burned cold around the warship as it moved through the nebula. The Empire licked its wounds, the galaxy whispered in fear, and deep within the Earth warship's heart, the core pulsed with silent light. It waited, ancient and patient, as if it had seen this all before, as if humanity was not the first to rise, and perhaps not the last to fall. The Empire had ruled for centuries with iron claws and burning fleets. Its people had lived in fear, its rivals had bowed in silence. But after one battle, after one warship appeared out of nowhere, the cracks began to spread. On distant colonies, whispers grew into riots. Citizens who once trembled at the sight of imperial banners now shouted in defiance. "If the humans can fight them, why can't we?" they cried. Statues of the emperor were pulled down. Soldiers refused orders. Governors begged for help. The empire was bleeding from within. In the great throne world, the emperor sat in silence, his face pale under golden lights. Advisors argued around him, some demanding full-scale war, others begging for peace. One voice trembled. "If Earth can build such ships, then every rival will rise. We will be surrounded." Another whispered, "If one ship broke us, imagine if they have more." The emperor clenched his fists, his pride burning. But even he could not silence the fear. Across the galaxy, spies searched desperately for answers. Reports came of secret human shipyards, hidden colonies, forbidden weapons. Some were lies, others truth. But the mixture was deadly. The galaxy no longer saw humans as weak. They saw them as the storm, the unknown, the power rising from the dark. On Earth itself, leaders watched the chaos unfold with calm eyes. They had planned for this moment. The warship had not only fought the Empire, it had sent a message to every world. The Empire can be beaten. Earth is not afraid. And that message spread faster than fire. Captain Elias stood on the bridge of his warship, his crew quiet but alert. Reports came from across the stars. Colonies rising, fleets breaking, enemies of the Empire gaining courage. Elias knew what this meant. This ship is not just a weapon, he told his officers. It is a spark, and now the galaxy burns. But within the Empire's core worlds, desperation twisted into cruelty. Imperial generals ordered mass arrests, cities turned into prisons, millions suffered under fear, yet fear could no longer silence them. For every punishment, more voices rose. For every execution, more rebels appeared. The Empire had built its rule on fear, but now fear had turned against it. Kareth, humiliated and scarred from his defeat, gathered what remained of his fleet. His eyes burned with obsession. He swore to crush the humans, to erase Earth from the stars. But deep inside, even he wondered if it was possible. Each night, he dreamed of the warship's shadow, of its weapons tearing through his ships, and he woke with claws shaking. Meanwhile, on the hidden command world of Earth, leaders prepared the next move. More warships were nearly finished, waiting in silence inside hollowed asteroids and dark stations. Each one built stronger, faster, more powerful than the first. Yet their greatest weapon was not the ships, but the truth. The galaxy no longer believed in the Empire's strength. The galaxy believed in humanity's rise, but the core pulsed, silent and alive. Deep within the warship, engineers studied it, their voices hushed with awe and dread. They still did not understand it fully. Some feared it was more than technology, something older, something with a will of its own. And as it glowed, Elias felt it watching him. It was as if the ship itself was alive, waiting for something greater. The galaxy trembled as it stood on the edge of change. The Empire, once unbreakable, was now fragile. Rebellions burned, soldiers deserted, and rulers questioned their loyalty. Yet in the shadows the humans waited, patient and silent. They had shown only one warship, and that was enough to shake an empire. But when the others rose, the galaxy itself would tremble, and in the Emperor's throne, his voice finally broke the silence. "If we cannot destroy them," he whispered, "then perhaps they will destroy us all." The galaxy burned with whispers. The empire that once ruled unchallenged was broken, rebellions rising like flames in every corner. But the Emperor, proud and desperate, refused to bow. He summoned the last of his fleets, the strongest ships the Empire had ever built, and at their center, a monstrous flagship, larger than cities, forged to be the ultimate weapon. Admiral Kareth stood once more on the bridge of this giant vessel, his claws gripping the railing. Humiliation still burned in his heart, rage driving him forward. He would not rest until Earth was erased from the stars. "This time," he growled, "we crush them, no matter the cost." Across the void, the lone Earth warship waited. Captain Elias watched his sensors as the Imperial Armada dropped out of warp. The sky lit with thousands of ships, their weapons blazing with power. The Empire had thrown everything into this one strike. It was not just war now, it was survival. "Captain," his officer whispered, fear in her voice, "we are outnumbered beyond reason." Elias's eyes narrowed, his voice calm. "They think we are alone. Let them believe it. The time has come." The Imperial fleet surged forward, the void trembling under the storm of fire. Beams, missiles, and plasma storms roared across the stars. The Earth warship shook, shields blazing, but still it held. Then Elias raised his hand, and in that moment, history changed. "Signal them," he ordered. And across the galaxy, hidden gates opened. From the shadows of asteroids, from the depths of moons, from the darkness of nebulae, warships emerged, dozens, then hundreds, each one carrying the same burning core, each one cloaked until now. The galaxy gasped, voices crying out in disbelief. Humanity had not built one warship, they had built a fleet. The void erupted in light as the hidden fleet joined the fight. Imperial ships fell in waves, their formations shattered. For every strike the Empire launched, two came back from the humans. The battle was no longer one ship against an empire. It was a storm against a crumbling wall. On distant worlds, citizens rose in joy. Colonies shouted in rebellion, no longer afraid. Rivals of the Empire smiled, their chains falling away. The galaxy was changing before their eyes, but still, the Emperor's flagship pressed forward. A monster of steel and fire, it roared through the battlefield, weapons tearing through even human shields. It was the last hope of the Empire, and it faced Elias's warship head-on. The two titans clashed in fire and thunder. Every strike shook the void. Every blast lit the darkness with suns of fury. Crewmen cried out. Ships on both sides were torn apart. Elias stood firm, his hands steady. "This ends today," he whispered. Then the core pulsed, brighter than ever before. The Earth warship system surged with power, its weapons glowing like stars. One final shot fired, a beam of pure energy tearing through the Emperor's flagship. The great vessel cracked, split, and exploded into a storm of fire. The Emperor's last hope vanished in silence. The battlefield froze. Imperial ships broke formation, their captains staring in despair. Without their leader, without their pride, they had nothing left. One by one they fled into the darkness, leaving wreckage behind. The Empire had fallen. On his bridge, Elias closed his eyes, the weight of history heavy on his shoulders. The galaxy had seen the truth. Earth had risen. No longer weak, no longer ignored, humanity had become the storm that reshaped the stars. But deep within the ship, the core pulsed again, silent, mysterious, alive, as if it was not only a weapon, but a warning. Elias felt it, a chill deep inside. Humanity had won today, but the true test was yet to come. For power always carries a price. The stars were quiet once more, but the silence was not the silence of peace. It was the silence before a new age. The Empire had trembled, the galaxy had shifted, and humanity, at last, stood at the dawn of a new order.